Hi, I'm Tina McDonald, and I'm so excited to be here to share with you today the new Exquisite Labels 11 being previewed for the Summer CHA 2013 Shape It Up Sneak Peek. Today I'm going to share with you this beautiful card made using the Exquisite Labels 11, Labels 11, and Grand Labels 11. The base of today's project is a 5x7 brown cardstock card base. The first layer of our card is going to be this beautiful coral cardstock. We're going to emboss only using the largest die in the Exquisite Labels 11 set. Place the die and the cardstock on the base plate, followed by the tan embossing mat and the pink embossing plate. Then we're going to run these through the grand caliper machine once, and that is going to give us the beautiful embossing look that we're looking for. Now we can remove the embossing mat and embossing plate and check out the gorgeous detailing that we got here. We're going to go ahead and remove the die template, remove the cardstock from the die template, and check out all the gorgeous embossing that we now have. Look at that. Onto a sheet of white cardstock, we're going to nest 5x7 Matting Basics Set B die number 7, and on the inside of that we're going to be using Grand Labels 11 die number 3. We're going to nest those together, make sure that the Grand Labels 11 is completely in the center, and then we're going to tape these into place using a low-tack tape. Next we're going to place the Exquisite Labels 11 beside it and lightly tape it into place. I just used a full sheet, not quite a full sheet, but of plain white cardstock for this. We're also going to use the middle size die for the Exquisite Labels 11 and tape it to the inside. So now let's flip that over onto our base plate, and we're going to cut and emboss in the grand caliper machine. So let's cover with our cutting plate and go ahead and run that through the machine, followed by our embossing step. So now that these pieces are cut and embossed, we're going to remove the frame, and we're going to be using this on our project. The inside portion we can remove from the template, and we're going to set it aside for use later. On the Exquisite Labels 11, we're going to trim this inside portion out using a craft knife and a ruler. Now that we have the three pieces ready to form the basics of our card, we're going to go ahead and adhere the white Exquisite Labels 11 over top of the embossed Exquisite Labels 11 on the coral cardstock. We're going to adhere it right over the embossed areas. If there's any excess coral showing around the edge, just feel free to trim that off with a pair of scissors. Now's a great time to adhere this panel to the front of our card. So go ahead and add your adhesive and center it directly in the middle of the brown cardstock base. Now it's time to adhere the frame that we created earlier over top of this beautiful portion of our card. It's going to change the shape of the Exquisite Labels 11 and give it more of a Labels 11 shape. It's slightly larger than the piece we've already created, so I want us to center it directly, leaving a slight brown border all the way around. So here's what we have so far. Let's move on and add a sentiment and embellish. I've stamped our sentiment onto white cardstock. Now we're going to use Labels 11 die number 5, and we're going to tape it just with a low-tack tape. We're going to tape it into the exact place that we want it over top of our sentiment. Then we're going to cut and emboss using the grand caliper machine. Also onto white cardstock, we're going to tape the middle-sized die from the Exquisite Labels 11, and we're going to run this through the machine at the same time. Let's flip these over onto our base plate. We'll cover with the cutting plate, and we'll go ahead and cut, and then we'll follow with the emboss step. Now take the sentiment along with both of the middle-sized dies from the Exquisite Labels 11, and we're going to start to layer. So we're going to adhere that, the Exquisite Labels 11, to the top and bottom, and then we're going to trim the second one, and we're going to adhere it to each of the sides. This will create a beautiful focal point for our sentiment. Once again, just more things that you can do with one die. The possibilities are endless. Once this is completed, we're going to go ahead and we're going to adhere some foam tape to the back, and we're going to adhere it to the card using that. It gives it just a touch of dimension and a little bit of interest. I always like depth and definition to my cards, and this just gives a little bit of that to this one as well. I like to add several strips of foam, that way my card doesn't start to buckle once I put it in an envelope or once I go to give it to someone. Now center this directly in the center of the card, and there you have it. We're ready to move on. Our next step is to make our beautiful flower focal point. So we're going to be using one of the spiral blossoms and 2 sheets of tissue paper. It's tissue stock. So go ahead and fold the 2 pieces in half, and then again in half. So it's going to be 8 layers thick. So fold it in half, that would give us 4, and then in half again will give us 8. We're going to cut this all through with one run through the grand caliper machine. So place the die on there and then run through the machine as we normally would. We're not going to do the embossing step, as you don't see it on the tissue paper in this particular project. And there we have our cutout tissue paper. So working with tissue paper with this many layers thick can be quite difficult. So we need to be careful to keep the pieces in the die and remove the excess. Alright, now we're going to remove it in one piece from the die template. This is how we're going to work with it in one piece. I'm sure you're already familiar with how to roll these spiral dies, but we're going to begin. I use a wooden skewer, and we're going to begin at the small end and we're going to twirl in. Working with multiple layers of tissue paper, we want to be careful to keep the layers where they're at. So there's going to be places where there's going to be a slight fold, and you need to keep that fold in there. Otherwise you're going to end up with 8 layers of tissue paper all separating. You'll see in places it's wanting to do that even now, but I allow it to pinch. I pinch it and give it a little pleat, and that will hold it in the exact spot where I want it. Coming closer to the end, sometimes I will allow it to separate a little bit, and it gives a nice flowy look to the bottom of my flower. Working with multiple layers of tissue paper is just beautiful detailing in the flowers. I like to roll the end with my fingers rather than on the skewer because it tightens it up nice. And once I have it at the end, we'll set it down. There, tuck the flap over, and then we'll set it down and allow it to slightly unravel. Don't allow it to go all the way, or you're going to have to start over again using tissue paper. So there we have it. What I like to do is I like to use a hot glue gun to hold that in place. And when using a hot glue gun with the multiple layers of tissue paper, it's a little bit tedious, but I put a drop of hot glue on each one of the layers. So I'll walk you through this, just so you see exactly what I mean. So add a touch of glue under that layer, press it down, and it'll pick up the next layer. Add a touch of glue, and press it down, and continue to do that for each of the layers. That way we're sure that your blossom is not going to come apart later on. Watch those fingers, that hot glue can certainly be hot. And here we're coming on the end. There we have it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to make the shape of our flower exactly how we want it. I like to add a little bit of distress ink to the petals. It gives it a very realistic look. And then I'll also use my skewer to add a little bit of depth and dimension. I separate some of the petals and give them a curl down. A little bit of direct to paper technique here with the ink, and let's do some curling. Slightly off screen, but there we are. Work it until it turns out exactly how you'd like to have it. Also, in the center, I'll add a touch of hot glue, and then I'll add some floral stems to the center of it, right in that center part there, which adds a beautiful final touch. I've gone ahead and cut and embossed some leaves from the foliage set. What we're going to do is we're going to tear the bottom 2 leaves gently from it. So this is going to give us 2 sets of leaves. The top set is going to stay as is, and the bottom set we're going to fold and pleat to create a little double leaf. So there we have these ready to go on our card. Now everything is ready. We're going to go ahead and start putting our card together. So these sets of leaves are going to go on the top and bottom portion here with our beautiful blossom that we created going right in the center. I'm also going to add little bits of pearls throughout the card. I have some flourish pearls that are going to go under the flower, and some baby bling, little tiny pearls that are going to go on. I'll show you a little bit here, the placement. And then you can make this exactly how you want it. You can make it your own. You can put as many or as few as you'd like, and it'll be totally unique to you. I have a set of tweezer bees here that I like to use for these tiny pearls. They're reverse action tweezers, and they're fabulous for keeping a good hold on these little suckers because they get away awfully easy. So just add pearls here and there as you see fit. And this is the finishing touch of our card. I want to thank you so much for stopping by today. Thanks for tuning in to my video. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. I hope you've enjoyed Spellbinders sneak peek this week. And I'm so thankful to have had the opportunity to share this adorable new set of dies, the Exquisite Labels 11, with you today. Thanks for stopping by. Have a fabulous day.